Welcome to the DrRcraft CSS animations tutorial. CSS animations allow transitions between CSS properties to be animated in multiple stages. Using CSS animations is advantageous in most situations because they are easy to write, maintain, and edit and don't use JavaScript. And on most computers, they are more smooth and performant than JavaScript animations. Here's an example of an element that has an animation. And when slowed down, it's easier to see. So you can see the first stage is when it becomes red and increases the font size. And then it becomes green and increases its size even more. And then reverts back to the original state. Let's try to recreate that animation by first defining it ourselves. First, we have to create the element that we want to animate. So I'm going to create a button element which has some text. As you can see, the button is there. And I'm going to give it some styling. It's just going to be basic styling that we can change later on. So we can set the background color to gold and the text color to white. That's hard to read. We can change it to dark goldenrod, which is a little easier to read on. And we can also add some padding to give it some space in the middle, 8 pixels, and we can remove the border. Next, to define our sequence, we can use the CSS @rule keyframes, followed by a space, and then the name of the animation, which in this case I'm going to call example-animation, and then add some curly brackets. Next, we can either add some keywords from to define the start of the sequence, to define the end of the sequence, or a percentage to define something at that point in the sequence. For now, we can just start with from and to for a simple animation. So we're going to start by setting the background color to dark goldenrod like it was before. And then we're going to change it to dark green. Now we've defined our sequence, but it won't do anything because we have to apply the animation first. To apply this named animation sequence to this button element, we use the animation name property. And then we set it to whatever the animation is called. In this case, example animation. And it still does not animate because we need to give it a duration. So we set the animation duration property, and we can set it to a time period, for example 1 second. And now if we run it, you can see it animates for 1 second. We can slow it down if we want, or speed it up if we want. I'm just going to slow it down here so that we can see it easily. However, by default, the animation only iterates once. However, we can define how many times the animation should iterate with the animation iteration count property. And we can set it to a natural number and speed it up so that you can see all the 4 animations occurring. And we can also set it to a decimal to only play part of the animation. Along with this, we can also set it to play infinitely with the infinite keyword. And now it will play endlessly. However, currently it only goes from one direction. From this dark golden rod color to this dark green color. But we can change which direction the animation plays with the animation direction property. This can be set to normal so that it plays in the normal direction, or reverse so that it plays in the opposite direction. However, it still has a harsh transition between each cycle, between each of the background colors, so we can set it to alternate, so that way it goes back and forth between the states. And we can also set it to alternate reverse, so that it alternates but in reverse order. Along with this, we can also set when the animation will play, after a certain amount of time or midway through the animation, by using the animation delay property. We can set this to a positive period of time so that it'll take some time for the animation to start. Like for example here it takes 2 seconds, but we can also put it as a negative value for it to start midway through the animation. We can also pause or play an animation on demand by using the animation play state property. I'm going to add it as a hover effect, so that way we can see it change in real time. Set the animation play state property. Running is what it's normally at, running the animation like this, but you can also set it to paused, to pause the animation. So you can see when we run the code and hover over the button, the animation pauses and it starts running again only when we stop hovering over the button. Now let's take a look at how we can shorten our code using the animation shorthand property. So I brought the animation play state property over to the main button styles so that you can see what the animation shorthand property does. And we can also change the delay to show a part of the animation that's more towards the middle. And first, to use the animation shorthand property, we have to keep all of this information so that we can put it in later on. For now, we can comment it out by using / asterisk at the start of all the animation properties and asterisk / at the end. And now the shorthand property for animations is just animation. So we first start with the name of the animation, which is example animation, and then the duration, which is 1 second, and then the delay, which is negative 0.25 seconds, and then the iteration count, which is infinite, and then the direction, which is alternate, and then the play state, which is paused. And now if we run the code, you can see it is exactly the same as before, but we should probably change the animation play state so that we can see the animation playing. And now, as you can see, is exactly the same as before, but it's just that the code is shortened to one line. So now we can get rid of this as we don't need it anymore. This finishes the CSS animations tutorial. Thank you very much for watching.